Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going into one of the, I think, most complex problems out there. The reality of UAP and, what non-human intelligence really implies for all of us.
We're looking at sources from two absolutely pivotal figures here. You've got Jim Semivan, the former high-ranking CIA veteran on one side.
The ultimate insider.
And then on the other, you have Jacques Vallée, the pioneering computer scientist and really the grandfather of modern ufology.
And our mission for this deep dive isn't to ask if it's real. I mean, both these guys are starting from the position that they know it is.
Oh, absolutely. That's a given for them.
We want to understand the consequences. First, Semivan's view on why disclosure is so incredibly risky. We're talking catastrophic risk.
And then Vallée's completely radical idea that this whole phenomenon might be a kind of a control system for human belief.
It's a huge idea. And what's so striking is that this conversation, it moves beyond little green men in spaceships almost immediately.
Right. I mean, Semivan, the intelligence guy, is connecting UAP to, well, to everything. Near-death experiences, poltergeists, parapsychology. He thinks it's all part of a single unified reality that we just don't perceive correctly.
It's not just technology. It's something that fundamentally alters reality itself. Okay, that is a massive claim. Let's start with the more immediate threat, though. The view from inside the halls of power. Semivan.
Yeah, this is a man who spent decades across the entire intelligence community. FBI, White House, DIA, DOD. He has the operational planner's mindset.
But he wasn't in the UAP programs himself, right?
That's the key thing he clarifies. He studied it for 40 years, but was never in a legacy UAP program. His knowledge comes from his high-clearance colleagues, people like Hal Puthoff and Lou Elizondo. He knows how the government thinks about high-stakes operations.
So if you apply that CIA planning model, where you analyze every possible point of failure, what happens when the president goes on TV and says, it's real?
The government immediately, instantly loses control. That's their deepest fear.
Loses control of the narrative.
Of the whole narrative. Because if the president says, yes, NHI are real, but then has to add, and we don't know their intentions or capabilities, that vacuum of knowledge just gets filled with chaos.
Okay, so what does that chaos look like?
Right.
That's specific, right?
Very specific. He says you'd see maybe 3 to 5% of the population just check out. They'd go into a full prepper survivalist mode.
Getting bunkers.
Totally. Then you have others who would panic, hoard supplies, pull capital out of the markets, major disruption, but maybe the weirdest risk.
New religion.
Exactly. A small but significant group would start literally worshiping the NHI as a new god. So you have total ideological fragmentation.
And this isn't just, a minor problem. He's talking about systemic collapse.
Yeah, he cites these analyses that suggest if you disrupt, say, 10 to 20% of your population, you're on the brink of societal collapse. Get to 30% and the system just fails.
It really puts that old phrase, humankind cannot bear too much reality, into focus. It's not just about upsetting science.
No, it's about fundamentally telling us our place in the universe is. That's not what we thought. Where, as he puts it, a talking monkey 3 or 4 steps down the cosmic ladder.
And that the world we see every day is just a tiny sliver of what's actually out there. That's the real trauma.
It's the realization that we might not be the pinnacle of creation. Maybe not even close.
Okay, let's ground this in the physical world for a moment, because both Semivan and Vallée are obsessed with the hard data, the stuff that breaks physics.
And Semivan points right to the Nimitz incident. He says, looking at the classified data, the multispectral systems, the Spy-1 radar, those craft were absolutely 100% real.
And the performance is just. It's impossible.
It's definitive proof. The object dropped from 80,000 feet to just 50 feet above the water in, 0.78 seconds.
For anyone listening, can you put the G-forces on that into perspective?
It's hundreds of Gs. An F-22, one of the most advanced jets ever built,
Yeah.
its airframe tears apart at around 14 Gs. A human pilot would just be a smear on the wall.
So the only possible conclusion is...
It's non-human, it's from somewhere else. That's the direct quote from the analysts.
And this is where the insider's intel connects perfectly with Vallée's work on material science. He's been collecting physical samples for decades.
He brings up the Ubatuba case in Brazil, 1958. An object explodes, and the fragments they find are pure magnesium, purer than anything we could industrially produce back then.
But the real key, the thing you can't fake, is what he's doing now with Dr. Gary Nolan.
Right, the isotope ratios. This is the smoking gun. You can fake a chemical composition maybe, but changing the isotopic ratios in a stable element,
That takes a whole other level of tech.
it takes nuclear level technology. I mean, basically the same kind of incredibly complex, energy intensive process they used in the Manhattan Project to enrich uranium. To find big chunks of material like that, it just screams a technological base that is fundamentally superior to ours.
The technological gap it's staggering.
Yeah.
Which brings us to a historical case that puts the tech right next to the bizarre behavior, the 1945 Trinity crash.
This is such a crucial case. It happens in New Mexico just a month after the first atomic bomb test at Trinity.
And just after Japan surrenders.
2 days after. So a huge egg-shaped object, we're talking 10, 15 tons, the size of 2 trucks, it clips a communications tower and crashes right outside the Project Manhattan security zone.
And the witness testimony from inside the craft is what makes it so central to Vallée's hypothesis.
Absolutely. 2 young boys, just 7 and 9, they look inside. And they don't see calm, advanced explorers. They see these 3-foot-tall beings that look sort of human, but insectoid. And they are in a state of, quote, total panic and distress.
So they have this impossible technology, but they're panicking like anyone else in a crash.
Exactly. They are clearly not in control, and the Army Air Force recovery confirms the scale of it. They needed a crane truck built to lift 2 tanks just to move the thing.
And the secrecy was immediate.
Immediate and total. It was classified under PQ atomic secrets.
Can you explain that? Is that higher than top secret?
Oh, way higher. PQ was literally created for one thing, to protect the secret of the atomic bomb. Putting this crash under that classification meant that almost no one, not even most generals in the Pentagon, would ever even know it happened. It set the precedent for secrecy for the next 80 years.
Okay, so we've got hyperphysics, non-terrestrial materials, and panicked occupants. This is where we have to get into the core of Vallée's theory, the control system.
Right. If they're so advanced, why is the behavior so illogical? So absurd.
It doesn't make sense from a scientific exploration standpoint.
Not at all. And Vallée, coming from computer science, he sees a pattern. He thinks it acts like a psychological reinforcement program. You get these intense short waves of sightings in one place, a burst of weirdness, and then nothing. It vanishes.
It's a drip feed of reality, not a full-on visit.
A very deliberate drip feed. And both of them, Semivan and Vallée, they stress this trickster element. It plays with you, it teases you, it frustrates you. It never just lands on the White House lawn and says hello.
So the absurdity isn't a flaw in the data, it's the whole point.
The absurdity is the message. Vallée connects the Trinity panic to these other bizarre cases, like beings in Socorro just collecting plant samples, or in France where they were fumbling around with a farmer's forklift. It's so illogical that it bypasses our rational mind and sinks straight into our culture, into our myths.
And he takes this to the ultimate conclusion by linking it to what many people consider a sacred religious event.
He goes right there. The Fatima incident. Portugal, 1917. 70,000 people see the miracle of the sun, which they describe as a spinning metallic disc.
So he's saying that was one of these UAP events, a mass manipulation.
He's arguing the physical craft worked in tandem with the spiritual message.
But that's a huge leap. What's the evidence for manipulation instead of just a miracle?
His analysis is on the effect of the messages given to the children, the visions of hell, the predictions of war, the prophecies about the Pope. He argues they aren't practical instructions. They're designed for myth-making. They keep humanity obsessed with interpretation, with theology.
And distracted.
And completely distracted from the physical fact that a large metallic craft was sitting right there, seen by believers and skeptics alike. The message is the control mechanism. The craft is just the delivery system.
Okay. Let's bring this to the final piece of the puzzle, the secrecy. If this is all so profound, why the cover-up for all these years? Semivan has 2 big reasons.
The first is just straight-up national security. Everyone wants to reverse engineer this technology because whoever gets it first controls everything, air, space, you name it.
And nobody wants to admit they can't stop it.
That's the other part. Admitting there is no defense against this would shatter global military deterrence. It's about maintaining a perception of control, even if you don't have it.
And his second point pushes back against the common conspiracy theories.
Yeah, he completely rejects the idea of some small, evil, deep state cabal pulling all the strings.
So what's the alternative?
He says it's just bureaucracy. It's the result of legitimate, siloed security protocols that were inherited directly from the Manhattan Project. It's not one evil group. It's thousands of people in their own little boxes following 80-year-old rules, never seeing the whole picture.
So the public disbelief, the ridicule factor, that's actually part of the system.
He calls it an AirSets covert action program. It's so much cheaper and more effective to just let people laugh at the idea than to run an active, decades-long debunking operation. The system perpetuates itself.
You know, it's fascinating how Vallée points out that our own physics is kind of catching up to this.
It is. Quantum mechanics, general relativity, they're already telling us that space and time might be, secondary concepts, disposable, which fits perfectly with a craft that can just vanish in midair.
But science isn't set up to study it properly.
That's Vallée's big challenge to the scientific community. You have the physics building on one side of campus and the psychology and sociology buildings on the other. But this thing, this wicked problem, it lives in the space between all of them. You need physicists and philosophers and historians all in the same room.
So to wrap this deep dive up, you have these two powerful converging perspectives. The CIA insider is warning that full disclosure could literally break society.
Because we just can't handle the truth.
And on the other hand, the scientist is saying the phenomenon is already disclosing itself, but on its own terms. A slow, bizarre conditioning program.
Which means disclosure isn't a switch that some president flips. It's a process. It's a slow leak of reality into our culture through researchers, through whistleblowers, through witnesses. And we have to approach those witnesses with some humility because they're the ones on the front lines of this thing.
After going through all this material, what's the one thing that really stands out to you? For me, it's the sheer indifference of it all. It doesn't seem to care what we think.
I think you're right. It's complex, it's multi-layered, and it constantly frustrates our attempts to put it in a neat little box. So I'll leave you with this final thought to consider.
Go on.
If Vallée is right, if this thing is a sophisticated control system that's guiding our evolution through a slow drip of wonder and confusion, then every piece of information we're getting right now, even the stuff being leaked to Congress, the stuff we're analyzing, it might just be another part of the script. Are we ready to accept that we might just be following the plan of an intelligence that is always, always 3 steps ahead of us?